Hello there, you stunningly gorgeous person you. I'm Chris from TechSpert and I'm here today with one of the most anticipated smartphones of 2020, the OnePlus 8, follow-up to the brilliant OnePlus 7T, which of course absolutely smashed my expectations end of last year. It was one of my favourite smartphones of the year, no doubt. And certainly just from a scan of the specs, the OnePlus 8 looks like a worthy follow-up to that 7T, boasting some key little updates in a few different areas to make it an even more enticing experience if you're after a mid-range mobile, boasting some really premium specs and features. But anyway, that's enough for me banging on. Let's get this bad boy ripped out of the box, get it fully set up, take a tour of the hardware and the software so you know exactly what to expect if you decide to grab yourself a OnePlus 8 of your own. And for more of the latest greatest tech, please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! Now first up, as you can see, just like the OnePlus 7T and 7T Pro before it, the OnePlus 8 boasts possibly one of the most humongous boxes of all time. Environmentalists probably ain't going to be a fan of just how much packaging is involved with this beast. Another 8 on the side there as you're sliding off the lid, just in case you're not entirely sure of which smartphone you just bought. And there it is, our first glimpse of the OnePlus 8, and boy howdy is it wedged in there nice and solid. Ease it on out, I don't want to drop it 3 seconds after pulling it out of the bloody box. So first up, before we get too giddy with excitement about the phone itself, let's check out what you get in the actual box itself. So I'm guessing in here there'll be the usual instruction manuals, maybe some stickers, little fun bits like that. Invitation letter from your man Pete. Yeah, safety information. Don't want any of that. I like to live dangerously. There is a sticker in there. I can see it. It's just refusing to come out. There we go. Lots of stickers. So smooth. Let's check out this here invitation letter. See what our man Pete has to say this time around. So lots of inspiring words. I don't have the time to read it all out, so just freeze frame and have a bit of read of yourself if you want. And in here you also get a transparent bumper, or a condom case as I like to term it, for the OnePlus 8. It's actually got never settle emblazoned on there as well. I'm not sure if you can make that out. That's pretty cool. Something a bit different. And of course you've got your warp charge USB cable Type-C and a bit of 3-pin USB plug action as well. And of course it's good to see OnePlus sticking with those bright red cables as well, very distinctive. So there you go, and there is the box itself. Now let's check out a bit of sexy phone action. So here we go, our first glimpse of the OnePlus 8 in all of its shiny glory, or actually not so shiny because this is the green model. So as you can see there, it's got a matte glass finish to it, so hopefully should help to hide smudges and all those greasy prints. But if you do want a shiny glossy version, you can pick it up in black with that sort of mirror style finish. This hue here is known as glacial green. It sort of has a slight warp effect to it as you sort of tilt it about the place. It looks dark green one moment, and then just as it catches the light, it sort of illuminates a bit more. Very nice indeed. It actually feels surprisingly compact as I'm clutching it, despite being a 6.55 inch beast. Maybe I'm just getting used to clutching absolute whoppers these days, so to speak. But it certainly doesn't feel cumbersome, and as you can see, they're nice and skinny as well, especially considering some of the beefy specs that they've packed inside of this thing, including, spoiler alert, a bigger battery now. And the OnePlus 8 is 180 grams according to the official specs, so they got a bit of a heft to it without feeling cumbersome or heavy or anything like that. Again, just aids to that comfortable grip, a good hand feel, as is quite a popular term in my field. And the comfort level is also aided by the sort of curved effect at the edges of the device, both on the front and the back as well, so they meet together, this sort of tapered metal frame right in the middle, and it is glass front and back, and that is Gorilla Glass. Not sure which generation though, they left that bit out of the specs. But certainly other recent OnePlus handsets that I reviewed, they tend to be pretty rugged devices. You can shove them in your bags with coins and keys and things, and generally they don't scratch up at all. We've actually got a screen protector installed on the front here as well, just for a bit of added protection, which is great to see. Unfortunately, there's no official IP rating here on the OnePlus 8, just on the Pro model, but OnePlus has assured us that it is water resistant. It'll be absolutely fine if you take it out in the piss and rain, which is good because apparently it's going to be slashing it down for most of this week by the looks of it. As far as the rest of the design goes, absolutely no surprises here on the OnePlus 8. You've got your volume rocker over on the left edge. Over on the right side, you've got your power button and your alert slider, of course. Up top, NAF already, and then down below you've got your Type-C USB port and your SIM tray. Is there a headphone jack? Is there Anyway, it looks like it's already juiced up, so let's get the OnePlus 8 all set up and have a big old full-on fun tour of that hardware and software. Oh, and while I'm setting up the OnePlus 8 as well, it's worth pointing out that it is a double-sided SIM tray, so you can stick in 2 SIMs at once, but as usual, no room for any micro SD memory cards. Boo. So all connected to the Wi-Fi and everything. It is Wi-Fi 6 compatible, even this base OnePlus 8. It's also 5G supported as well, which is great to see, although 5G only works on one of the 2 SIMs at once. As you can see, it's the most fun part of the setup process, where you get to register your fingerprint. It is of course just an optical sensor, but they have improved quite considerably over the past sort of year and a half. So these days they are pretty accurate, pretty responsive, generally quite reliable. And bosh, the setup process is all finished. The OnePlus 8 is ready to rock. Now first up, you just saw me enrolling my fingerprints on the OnePlus 8, but you've also got full face unlock as usual, no surprise there. So just quickly add in my slightly tired looking face into this as well. And then with that done, as usual, if you want to unlock your smartphone, you can either use your fingerprint, or you can just hit that power button or do a bit of raise to wake, and there you go, straight in to the desktops. And before we dive fully into the software features and the hardware and everything as well, I'm just going to quickly check out not just the bundled cover, but also got a couple of official OnePlus cases as well, which I'm going to slap on to see what they look like. So first up, that freebie bumper, in case you don't want to throw any more money OnePlus's way. And the case itself obviously isn't particularly sexy, but it has that nice transparent finish, so you can at least still make out the lovely glacier green design here on the OnePlus 8. As you can see, of course, you've got that subtle never settle messaging as well, if you want to stay on brand. Next up, we've got a bit of sandstone bumper case cyan action. As you can see there, this is a proper hard shell case, so it should offer a bit more protection compared with the standard transparent bumper, but of course it does completely mask that design, adds a little bit of extra girth onto your smartphone as well, so it's not quite as sexily slender, but still looks very snazzy indeed. I kind of like the sort of the rough finish to it as well, something a bit different from usual. And then last up is a OnePlus 8 nylon bumper case, brackets black. And these ones I'm not so much of a fan of. They look a bit too sort of executive for my liking, so I feel like I'm about to go into a meeting and start banging on about annual quotas and things like that. But I'm sure it has its fans, so there you go. So that's all the accessories out of the way. Now let's take a look at that software. It's a bit of OxygenOS 10.5, the latest version of OxygenOS, slapped of course on top of Android 10. It looks to be basically the same version of OxygenOS pretty much that we know and love from the OnePlus 70 and the OnePlus 70 Pro, though down at the settings it all looks very familiar. You got the usual gesture support and everything, usual navigation gestures, of course, you can flick around like so. All the usual customization we know and love from OxygenOS as well. There have been a few little updates here and there though, so for instance an all new dark mode, which is now compatible with even more apps than before, and some new dynamic theming as well. I'll be bringing you a full OnePlus 8 and OnePlus 8 Pro tips and tricks guide, so stay tuned for that for all you need to know about the best software features. Now already it's looking like one of the definite highlights here on the OnePlus 8 will be that 6.55 inch fluid AMOLED display. Absolutely stunning stuff, full HD resolution. Also, despite the fact that it is a 6.5 inches, still images look nice and crisp on this thing. You got full HDR10 Plus support on here as well, so a nice sharp contrast, nice natural looking colours on any supported content. And the good news is that apparently that colour accuracy is absolutely superb in general. Apparently the OnePlus 8 sports a JNCD score of 0.4. That stands for just noticeable colour difference. I'd never even heard of this thing before my OnePlus briefing, to be perfectly honest, but apparently the lower the score, the better those colours, the more natural they look, and apparently this is one of the best ones out there. And so far, certainly no complaints whatsoever. Those images are absolutely stunning. Definitely looking forward to kicking back with a good bit of Netflix in my self-isolation misery here, and yeah, just enjoying that, lapping it all up. As for the audio, well, it's a stereo speaker setup here on the OnePlus 8 as well, full Dolby Atmos support. Let's just crank up the volume and check it out. Ear belt with these things, and here's my pick of the very best sub £300 smartphones that you can bag yourself right now. Yeah, first impressions definitely strong there as well. Nice powerful output, pretty good clarity on that top volume as well. It's a shame there's no headphone jack, but hopefully the Bluetooth support will be nice and reliable as well. And before we get off the subject of that screen, the OnePlus 8 also supports a 90Hz refresh rate by default, as you can see, smoother than a buttered up Barry White. Every poke and swipe, just instant reaction to it, everything just looks fantastic. Hopefully a nice bit of supported game action should also look rather stunning. And as you'll see, if you dive into the display settings, it is set to 90Hz refresh rate by default. You can knock it down to 60Hz if you want to increase your battery life instead. On the performance side of things, more smoothness there basically, because it's the Qualcomm Snapdragon 865, the latest super premium Qualcomm chipset, backed by the 8 to 12 gigs of DDR4 RAM. In this case, not DDR5 like the Pro, but as you can see, they're super nippy, no worries. I will of course be testing out with a good bit of PUBG action and all the rest. Then you've got Qualcomm's X55 modem in there for your bit of 5G support. Rounding off the specs, you've got a choice of either 128 or 256 gigabytes of storage here on the OnePlus 8. Sadly, no micro SD memory card support, as I said before, but it is UFS 3.0 again, so nice and nippy. And as far as the battery goes, it's been upgraded to a 4300 milliamp cell now, so hopefully it should easily last you a full day. No worries, you've got the usual optimized charge and everything, and of course you've got that 30T warp charger as well, so on OnePlus rankings you get about 50% charge in 22 minutes of the plug. I'll certainly be testing that out to see if it's true. And then last up for this unboxing, let's take a look at that triple lens OnePlus 8 camera tech. So what you have here is a 48 megapixel primary lens. It's got a Sony IMX586 sensor, very common sensor, obviously found in a lot of sort of mid-range handsets, f1.75 aperture, and that's backed by a 16 megapixel ultra-wide angle lens and a 2 megapixel macro lens. There's no telephoto action or anything here. Now I will of course be giving the OnePlus 8's camera tech a good going over, so stay tuned for my full thoughts on that. But let's just take a quick tour of that app and see exactly what features you can expect. So as you can see, of course, you start off in full auto mode, taking 12 megapixel images using a bit of pixel binning, but you can instantly swap to 48 megapixel full high-res images with a quick tap up there. You can swap to the ultra-wide angle lens with a quick tap of this icon down there if you want to fit a bit more into frame. You've also got a 2x digital zoom, basically, if you give this little icon here a tap like so. And then if you want to shoot a macro shot using that macro lens, then just a little tap of this sort of flower icon up there, and this should allow you to capture a bit more detail when you get really up close and personal. Still don't really know what the point of super macro mode is unless you really like taking pictures of bugs and flowers, but hey ho, each to their own. And then of course you've got the usual host of bonus features, including a bit of portrait mode to shoot a nice bit of bokeh style action in the background. If you swap to video, you can shoot up to 4K resolution footage at 60 frames per second, and you do have a bit of super stable mode action on the go as well. Slow motion as well, of course, if you wanted, panorama, time lapse, all the usual shenanigans. And if you dive into the bonus camera modes here, you've got a full pro mode, which as you can see there gives you a nice little spirit level, so you get a nice straight shot. You can play around with the white balance, the ISO levels. You can shoot either JPEG or a nice bit of RAW, or JPEG 48 megapixels as well if you want, again, that high res action. And you've also got OnePlus's nightscape mode as well if you want to shoot a low light shot with nice balanced effects. And then if we swap around to that front facing 16 megapixel camera, as you can see there, you can shoot a gorgeous shot of, again, your very tired, haggard looking face. You can shoot up to full HD resolution video, and you've got the usual portrait mode, smarts and everything on there if you want it. So there you go, there's the OnePlus 8 in all of its glory. I've got my sim slapped in there, so I will be fully testing this out for the next week or so. It's actually a week before the official launch right now, so when this video goes live I'll have already been testing it for a full week. Stay tuned, I'm going to do a live Ask Me Anything right here on TechSpert. I'm also going to be doing, as I say, a full review, tips and tricks guide, all you need to know about the OnePlus 8 and the OnePlus 8 Pro as well. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. Are you already swayed? It'd be great to hear from you, and please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest tech. Cheers everyone, love you.